live already.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Isn't Easter long? We've done Good Friday. We had a brief interlude on the Saturday, but we were working in the background. We had Easter Sunday, and now we have Easter Monday.
It goes on, and I've so far not had any chocolate. Marion, hello, Marion. You're first in
Hi, Marion.
today. Good to see you. Oh, Sarah's here. Hello. Hi, Grace is here. Third in.
Hi, Grace.
Angela's here. Oh, you got knocked off your spot,
Oh,
Angela.
you got knocked off your spot, Angela. Grace is now taking over.
Although you were there on the HM Live. Good evening, Emily. Lovely to see you.
Hi,
Celia's
Emily.
here. Hello.
I see. Oh my goodness, they're all coming in thick and fast.
They're all coming in thick and fast. Well, Garry, it's been chucking it down. I nearly said something else then. It's been chucking it down. Bonnie Curlis is here. Hi, Bonnie. Good to see you. Morning from Australia. Good morning. Angela's
I don't even know who that is. I need to get organised.
Libby's here. What's it like up in Shetland? Is it most nights? Even in the summer, is that what you hear most nights rattling around your house? Hello, guys, says Karen Mackinson. Hello, Maggie's here. Hello, Maggie. Sarah says, I tried so hard to get first tonight. They are too fast. It's becoming a competition. Who can get on first? Because you're all out there. Are they coming? They're late. They're late by at least 20 minutes today. Monica. Hello, Monica. Good to see you.
Thanks for the video, here. Monica.
Oh, we had a video, did we?
Yes. I'm keeping it to myself.
Oh, was it sent to you and not the Phoenix group?
Yes.
Oh, I want to know. You have to show me later. It is tonight. I can just imagine you all cuddled up in the warm and it's going all rattling around the Shetland Isles. I bet you, because there's no trees, I'm guessing. It's just everything's little. Everything's short. Even the people. The horses are short. The people are short. The trees are short. Everything's short. Started a track on half of my land today. Well done, Marion. That's fantastic.
Excellent, Marion.
Good job.
That's great news.
It is great news. So, Gary's been chucking it down here. We managed to run out and walk the dogs and got soaking wet. I did anyway.
We got halfway round in the dry and then we turned around and thought, oh shit, here we go, and we were drenched.
So I'd like to ask you all a question this evening. Are you learning from these lives? Are you getting stuff? Do these lives help you? Do you want us to continue? Do you want Garry and Lindsay to continue? I do look like very pale, and you look nice and red. I look like Edward Cullen out of. Oh,
you're not going to come along and bite
Twilight. I had to think of the word then. Well done. Sandra's here. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Susan Garvin. Hello. Been on a lovely sunny day here in Wales. Really? Blimey, I reckon Wales, there's nowhere else that's been sunny in Europe, just Wales. Hi, Lindsay and Garry. Just had an inquiry on the page if there is an age restriction on the challenges. Lady has a daughter who is interested.
No age limit. The only thing that you've got to be careful of with the 10-day is the practical and the tools, and as long as that person is being chaperoned, monitored, just supervised, like normal, that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. No problem at all.
Yeah, that's lovely. Well, thank you for that. I'll go and have a look. We'll check it out. Yes, later. Bonnie says yes. You are learning stuff. Absolutely. Oh yes. Good. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Bunny says you just didn't get the yes. Everything's yes. Absolutely yes. Garry, you commented on some photos tonight and mentioned there might be some sidebone. How can you tell without an X-ray?
Okay. Well, on those photos, there was a swelling that's poking up above the cornet band. I can't remember the lady's name that I was looking at. It was way back in the group. It wasn't a recent one. I was trying to catch up on some that we haven't actually had a chat with or commented on, because there was some that we'd missed. And that was the main reason. That was the main reason. And also, when you looked at the back of the foot, it was very contracted at the back, and there was a lump at the top. And I thought, this just looked, it's just with experience, really. It was just with experience, really. You've got this little lump at the side, and I suppose as well, there was an indication of in the post as well, where they said that this horse was 21 years old and had been shod ever since it was 3. There was lots of contraction at the back, and I saw these little lumps where Lindsay is just highlighting where those lateral cartilages should be. I'd like to get in there and have a good feel, but I can't do that remotely. So it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see. That's why I made a comment. I hope that answered your question. I hope that answered
very good.
Your
very good. Oh, Maggie says yes, please, more lives. That's good. That's good, because we don't want to outstay our welcome. We want to make sure we're useful to you. Day 26. That means that we've gone one day over what everybody would do if they did the 15 and the 10-day challenge.
10-day challenge.
For me, it feels like it's been forever. But I'm sure when they do the 15 of the 10-day challenge, it's not like that at all. Karen says, after last night's show, I've spent most of the day picking up sycamore saplings. Thanks, Garry. Oh, dear.
Oh, bless you, Karen. There are places that you can actually send the saplings to be tested to see if they are highly toxic. And it really does depend. And each year it can change.
Interesting.
I know where you can send them in the UK, but I don't know anywhere else in the world, to be perfectly honest. You'd have to do some research. But to be quite honest, as long as you pick up the saplings and the seeds, the risk is minimal, isn't it? Risk is minimal.
I've got something to read out to you. I'm going to read it to you rather than show it to you, because one of our and I'm sure she absolutely wouldn't mind me telling you, but a lady that we know who's also a barefoot specialist, she sent us this message yesterday, and she said she just listened to the live with Garry's live, and she said, this is a true story, she said, which I hadn't observed with my own eyes. If I hadn't observed it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. And it sounds like a Disney movie. She said, 2 years ago, my 2 aging Arabs recently moved to the UK from Dubai, so not accustomed to English countryside, stood in the barn having a feed of dampened grass pellets. She went, oh my God, Spirit has hardly any teeth, she said. The feed hadn't been dampened enough, and Spirit started to become a bit distressed, coughing, circling, and looking at his tummy. The younger of the 2 ran over to him and chased him down the yard urgently. I followed, as this was extremely unusual. So the younger one ran over and then chased him away, chased him down the yard. And she said, I followed, as this was extremely unusual behavior. He pushed him to a tree, which I later learned was goat willow. He stretched up, the younger one, and pulled down a small branch and threw it on the floor. He then nuzzled Spirit, who then reached up and grabbed another branch. He ate it, leaves and all, and then let out a huge burp. Never known a horse to burp. They then both sauntered back up the hill as if nothing had happened. Absolute truth. I only wish I'd had my camera to record it. Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. I mean, it doesn't sound like it, does it? Doesn't even sound like it could be true, but it is true.
Shall I? I'll tell you another story. I've got loads of them. When I was doing a zoopharmacognosy session with a horse, it was a gelding, and he was quite choppy in his back end, quite choppy. He just wasn't comfortable in his back end. So I offered him loads of stuff at the front end. So for inhalation, there was a few herbs, barley grass, rose hip shells. Really, he took a little bit, but nothing major. And then I brought out this one oil. It's a macerated oil. So a macerated oil is when you've got, for those that don't know, is when you have plant extracts that are soaked in a carrier oil. So all the medicine that is in that plant then leaches into the oil. So you can actually, it can be taken internally, or it can be applied topically. And as soon as I opened this bottle, and I wasn't even in the box at the time, it was like it was on he was on like a turntable. He just flinged his arse round. And you think, oh my God, he's rather big. And he's just flinged his arse round to me. So I thought, okay. So I decided to go into the box, and I went to the other end because I just wanted to make sure. And he just flung his arse round again. And I thought, oh my God, what's he doing? And I had this bottle of oil in my, the top was off. So I actually put some on my hand, just a little bit. And I thought, right, where does he want it? So I put it on the top, and he just, nothing happened. And then I went down the side, nothing happened. And then I went down the other side, and nothing happened. And I thought, I wonder if he needs it on the inside of his leg. So I went onto the inside, and then he almost sat on my hand. So it was right in between his legs. And I thought, okay. And he was basically starting to rub on my hand. And I thought, well, this is a bit weird, right round his bits.
I hope nobody's just nobody, please.
Anybody watching, you can just imagine there's me stood behind the horse with hands.
Right now. What
Can
do you mean?
just imagine?
Hand between his legs, Garry?
So I ended up putting this oil on, and he was his mind had just gone somewhere else. It was like that he was just in this trance. So I ended up putting some more on, and his body was actually soaking it up. Yes, my hand was covered, but it was absorbing. And I'd heard about it in textbooks and stuff like that, but I'd never actually experienced it. And I thought, okay, and he didn't want anything else. Once that was done, he decided that he walked away. Once he had enough, he walked away, and that was it. He just turned around. He didn't really want anything else, and he started munching hay. And I thought, well, that's really weird. So I left some with the owner and said, well, offer it to him tomorrow if he needs any more. And he didn't. And she said he's never been choppy on the back end at all.
Amazing.
Do you know what I reckon it was? And obviously I haven't got any proof.
Anecdotal, and people don't like anecdotal.
I haven't got any proof. He had a bad castration. He had scar tissue. And what he selected was St. John's wort, which helps to loosen up scar tissue. Isn't that amazing?
No.
Isn't that amazing? Mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing.
He chose.
He chose. Caroline says, none of this surprises me. They're so good at showing us so much when we slow down and let them guide us. And how many times do people not listen? How many times do we not listen? And as soon as you start listening to them, they tell you all kinds of things. All kinds of things. They really, really do. Becky says it is mind-blowing. Angela says, checking in from southern France, day 6 of the 15-day challenge, filling in the many gaps. I'm absolutely thrilled to be part of the Phoenix Way.
Awesome. Thanks, Angela.
Thank you. And you know, one of the things that happens to us because we stick our wait a minute, what's this? Love this. If we listen, horses tell us. Yes, they do. Absolutely. Poppy says, wow, that's amazing. I want to learn zoopharmacognosy and everything else. Just want to know it all, says Poppy. And just please just tell me everything. How do I know it all? I would love to know more about this plant knowledge. Yeah, zoopharmacognosy is fascinating. My horse did the same, but he had a tick because he can feel all of that, right?
Of course they can.
They can. So, I wanted to go back up here. Sandra says, yes, they are great. Thank you very much for them. Thank you for tuning in. Defo more lives, learning so much, and the support is amazing. Can you cope though? Must be knackering. Yes, knackered. I changed my whole sleep pattern because of you guys. Too good to miss. Bless you. Bless you. Hello, says Facebook user. Don't know who that is. Yeah, Karen says, I didn't know that. Maybe to keep it going, not wear you both out, perhaps do lives twice weekly. Well, I have a plan. It's going to be a bit more than twice weekly, but I have a plan. I shall relieve. Yes, it was Jan's story. It was Jan's story. Do you know Jan? It was Jan's story. Yay, caught you live, says Alicia. Brilliant. Just joined, says Laura. Hello, Laura. Laura's having a nice day today because I think she's had Monday off and she's been able to go and do a bit of trimming and just been generally sort of just having a nice day. I hope you didn't go to sleep the other night when you went to see Ghostbusters. How late are you? You're not really, because we turned up late. No, Vanya, we were late too. Hello from Tenerife. Who's that? Hello from Tenerife.
That's Emma. It's M at Eden Farm.
Hello, Emma Eden Farm. I was there not long ago on Tenerife. I was. Loved it. Becky, yeah, Becky's here. Okay, so now, yes, I just wanted to check because we just want to make sure that what we're doing when we come out and we do these are useful evenings for you, or days or mornings or whatever, and that we give you useful information that you can go and implement, hopefully, in the great scheme of things with your horses, because that's important. But I think what will happen is that you are going to see, as we have seen, an increase in a few stones being thrown and battens being bopped on people's heads. So just to say that if you get confused out there and you get conflicting information and that is conflicting with us, then let us know. I mean, I don't mean, let us know. I mean, just kind of say it out loud so we can discuss it, because these are the sorts of things that we need to discuss, because the world is full of confliction and full of misunderstanding. And unfortunately, or fortunately, when you've done the job that we have and you've been and you've seen thousands and thousands of hooves in every single kind of situation you can think of, really, when you get other people that kind of want to detract from that and say, almost make it out as if what we're doing is we're just out here to gain followers, it's unfortunate, and things will be said. So please, if you see those sorts of things, do come on into the lives, or even put them up in the Phoenix group. We don't mind, but put your confusions up there, because otherwise they're going to brew. And one of the problems that we see with owners is that they'll be like, I'm on it, I got it, I understand it, simple, strip it out, and then they'll see somebody writing something down somewhere and frightening them with something, I don't know, a video or some pictures, at which point it makes a little doubt person on this side of your shoulder. Here's Lindsay and Garry over here, and then there's a little doubty person over here, and that doubty person makes you think, oh, I don't know now. So when that happens, tell us, because we've heard it so many times. All right, so just let us know and we will help you through it. If we can, we will guide you through it. We pretty much heard
everything.
I think we've heard everything. I think we've heard everything. Yeah, I think we have. Sam, Bulgaria. I have a lilac Hi, Sam. I have a lilac hedge alongside my paddock. When I first got my horses, I had no idea what it was, but the horses only use it for scratching their bums on. Also, I didn't know about ragwort, but my two don't touch it. They don't. And that tells us something, right? Because we know, right? We know that we are very much driven by the microbiome in our guts. We are so driven, because I'll bet every single one of you watching tonight, when you go to the supermarket, you always get the same kind of things. You know exactly the aisles to go down, unless you've just opened a cookery book and you've got this new cookery book for Christmas or your birthday, and you're like, I'm going to make some lovely thing. What on earth is that ingredient? I've never heard of that before. And then you go down, you're looking for it everywhere. But other than that, normally you'll have all the normal things that you like in the house, because we're driven by what's inside. And I remember Garry years ago saying to me, right here, I want you to, was it molasses? What was it that you
It was licorice.
Licorice. He said, taste this. So this is one of his zoo farm things, right? And I'm like, okay. He went, smell it.
You got to smell it first. Smell it
first. And I smell it, and I'm like, oh, it's nice smell. I like that licorice. And I'm not massively fond of licorice. Not actually licorice, but I like the smell of it. And I'm not too, I'm sort of like that, sitting on the fence with licorice. And so he said, just stick your finger in and just stick it on your tongue. And I went, oh, that's nice. That's a bit lovely, that is. And he went, have a little bit more. I'm like, oh, shall I? And he went, yeah, go on, take a bit more. So I did that, and I'm like, it's nice. And then he said, and again. I'm like, what? So I did it again. And this time, the third time, I was going, well, it's nice. Not quite as nice as the first time I put it in my mouth, though. And he went, well, try it again. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to. But I did. And then when I put it in the fourth time, I was like, ooh, I'm going off it now. I don't quite like it. And he went, and he said, do it a fifth time. I'm like, I don't really want to. It's like, meh. And he went, do it. And I'm like, eh. Interesting, isn't it? Because my body was going, yum, yum, yum. Yeah, lovely. And then it went, no, but how do we listen? Right? Well, we do listen, because you know that when you go around the supermarket, you know the things you like. And you know the things that your family likes as well. You know that. So we are controlled, but we switch ourselves off to it a certain amount. But animals, they don't have that. They don't have that. They just know. They don't switch off to it. They know. And it's incredible. Just even things like nose and smelling, and how much more they can smell, and how much they can pick up from the environment, that we've lost that ability pretty much. With our pathetic,
we end up overthinking it.
Our faces.
We end up overthinking it. Sometimes we turn around and say, okay, I've got a sore throat and I've got a bit of a cough, I'll have some licorice, because that can help. Right? But if we didn't have a cough or anything like that, and we go for some licorice, and then is it really nice? And I'm talking about medicinal licorice here now. We're talking about the herb, not the black sticky stuff that's covered in sugar.
No,
we're not talking about that licorice.
This wasn't sweet.
We're not talking about licorice all sorts. It's really interesting, isn't it? But again, it's a plant extract that is very powerful in its true form, and I think we overthink it too much, whereas other animals live in the moment.
That's right.
Don't they? They really do live in the moment.
They do.
There's no airs and graces. Oh my God, I like that smell. Oh, does it taste nice? Yes, I'll have some more.
Yeah.
That's if they want. That's if they need it internally.
Yeah.
because a lot of animals don't necessarily take things internally. Cats very rarely don't. They tend to roll in herbs. And, you know, when you've got catnip or mint or
pears. Why do my cats, particularly flops? Tell me, Gary.
ask him.
Pears. If I bring pears into the house, I'm not joking. If I bring pears into the house, if I'm not watching, he'll be on the table going nuts, rubbing himself up against the pears. I'm like, get off my pears.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So cats very rarely
Always
take stuff internally, but they do like if they for a zoo session, for a a self-selection section for a cat. Very often it's all dried herbs, and we actually put a sheet out in the living room, and you put a little bit of everything out, so there's space, and they actually go and roll on the ones that they want, and they go into this euphoria, and they they mix it themselves. And it's interesting because if you were to offer it again the next day, they actually use them in the same order as well. So it's almost they need them in the right order to be able to support them.
It's not weird. I don't know if you use the word weird,
animals
but
are so clever. We just don't understand.
No,
so
and I mean, look, when we were walking the dogs the other day, you, me, and Rach, and I picked up I picked up a stick, and I mustn't have had my hand on that stick for more than 3 seconds, if that. Right? I picked it up and I went and I threw it that quick, and I hadn't touched it prior to that. I hadn't touched it at all. In fact, your dog Gaston had it in his mouth, and I had picked it up that brief and then threw it. And Pinky and Gaston, Pinky's my dog, and she's got a real nose on her. Gaston's pretty good as well. And they ran into this field with grass this high, so they couldn't see anywhere. And I threw it, and Pinky she was just leaping like this, and she just went like that and just went vroom, straight down and picked it up. And I'm like, oh wow, that is amazing. How did you do that? I touched it for seconds. She's good at doing that. She does it all the time. How do you do that? And I'm like, what does my hand smell of? I don't get it. So can you just imagine the houses that that we live in, that our poor dogs must be so used to, and the horses too. They have this incredible sense of smell. You know it, don't you? When you walk in, if you happen to have anything treaty in your pocket, they go straight to it. They know it's there. They know that it's in your pocket. They do know. What's that? I think my dog is defective. Or is he a detective? Did you mean to say defective? Sarah says Sarah says we have plants here that horses will eat. It looks like a weed in the sandy ground, has a little orange bulb, and when you rub it, it smells like pineapple. That's
that sounds like sounds like a type of chamomile.
Yeah, and
it's very short.
Didn't we used to call that the pineapple plant? I'm sure we called that
chamomile, I'm sure.
Yeah, we used to call that the pineapple plant when we were kids. We had a cat who loved olives. It's just crazy, isn't it? It's bizarre. No, definitely defective. Okay, Kathleen says, hello, everyone. There is something that has been confusing to me. When one of my mare first had laminitis, the ECIR group stated to never remove any sole when trimming to help protect the hoof. I feel this would have caused compacted sole. Would love to know your thoughts. That is a great question, and a question that always raises its head. And it has to do with the fact that the world usually takes the toe off horses because of lever forces and because of this fear of breakover and tearing of the laminae. So consequently, it has been a thing where toes have been removed. And if you remove the toe, then the sole is going to callus because it's been traumatized, it's been harmed, and so it will callus. And at that point, then with you you've brought the toe pillar back. So if you imagine the toe pillar was actually on the wall and now you've brought it back. At that point, then you can't remove that toe callus. So you can't remove it. So you can't touch the sole going forward from the apex of the frog. But if you leave the sole completely alone at the back as well, which is common practice, because everything's done at the front. When we come along, people are like, wow, you just do it the reverse. You sort of go at the back and you don't do so much at the front. So if you leave the heels alone, which is common practice, then it will compact. And you've seen that. If you've been in the group long enough, you'll have seen lots of horses. We've got ponies and horses with compaction. And we did one of these lives. We did a heel live and you know, we were looking at hooves that were like Coke cans. I think it tends to be the term people use. So it compacts. So it's kind of right and kind of wrong all at the same time. And it's not great advice, because obviously that means that people tend to just get fearful and leave it alone. I'm just trying to find a picture of somebody who put an image up on our post the other day that I want to show you to try and illustrate what I'm talking about. Let me just remove. Oh, hello. Let me just remove that. Wait. I'm just trying to connect you. Hold on a moment. Connecting you, caller. Disconnecting you. Please hold on. Right. Here we go. Right now, look. Right. Can you see this image? So this was an image that was put up on our post that we put up a couple of days ago about the difference between what to the foot and to the surface area that the horse is walking on when you take the toe off. Now in this specimen here, and it actually is, I shouldn't call it a specimen because this is a living animal, and this was done to this horse. And you can see here, if I blow that up, you can see here, this is all, that's probably not too far. This is all the lamina. You're getting very close to the dermis, and you can see this bruising here, and this is the sole. Now, if you had this horse, and Garry and I, or any of our students came to this horse now, we couldn't touch the front of the sole. We couldn't touch the front of the sole because that would put this, I'm going to just put StreamYard over there so I can see what's going on. That would potentially put this pony in more jeopardy, because what's happened here now is that when this hoof wall was in play all the way up here and around here, it used to be in front of this part of the sole, then it was what the horse walked on, right? It was his toe pillar. But the moment that you remove that toe pillar is now gone back to here. And it's unnatural, because if you look at horses, they naturally shape the bottom of their feet. And this looks like it's a right fore. So it would naturally have more of a pillar of support here on the inside, but it's been obliterated. It has totally been obliterated. And humans never think of this. And this, I mean, that's not subtle, but even when we do subtle removal and we think, oh, it just looks a bit long, we'll just take it away. That subtleness is extreme to the horse. It's a really big news for the horse, because you've taken away what that horse is walking on. So as a consequence, you've now left this horse to walk on an unnatural, totally on this part of its foot, without, I have to add, the structural support of this wall being in play. Now, we've talked about this before, and I know that I've said you mustn't really, it's very difficult. We shouldn't anthropomorphize, and we shouldn't compare us to horses. But a similar thing, if you think of how you maybe you probably don't think of this, but where your toenail and your big toe, let's talk about your toenail and your big toe, and how, in fact, having that toenail there gives your big toe a bit of structure, right? We know that. Otherwise, evolution would have just got rid of it. So when you put your toe down and you've put your foot down, it doesn't all just go, there's some structure to it. And you know how weird it is when you cut your nail too far back by accident, or you lose your nail, or it gets knocked off, or it gets snapped off, or even on your fingers and it gets snapped off too far back, when you go to put your foot down, it feels weird. It doesn't feel very pleasant anymore because you haven't got that kind of structure to your toe anymore, or your fingers. Now, this is soft here, right? Because this is laminar. Okay, it is a horn, so it isn't what you might term like putty, but it's softer than what's here. So now you've removed that wall, you've removed that structure that was very, very, very much needed. So when the horse puts pressure here, it is far easier for this to be distorted when they put their foot down, because you don't have that structure there anymore. But more so than that, right in this spot here, right in that area there is it's just right in here is where the tip of P3 is. And now you're asking this pony to put pressure all on this area here, and they've taken this sole back too. So this is for those people who go, oh, you don't trim within the white line. It happens a lot. Let me tell you, it does happen a lot, and utterly unnecessary. So now you've got a situation where that pressure is going directly through. Oh God, I'm gonna have to just that looked rude then. Did you see that? I just have to just rub that out. That looked really rude. God,
I missed that completely.
Oh, did you miss it? Shall I do it again? So if you've got this little bit here, and then you, oh look, it doesn't look quite as good the second time I've done it. You get the idea. Anyway, you get that point here, and the pressure, I'm going to do it that way, boop boop, is going through to P3 that's underneath. Everybody's like, oh my God. And so consequently, what then happens, let me just come back to my little jobby, is that all of this area here is unnaturally put under pressure. So what we do is, when we're trimming horses like this, because we now don't have a balance point, we're guessing it's going to callus. This was done very fresh. This picture was taken freshly after this horse had it done to them, and it caused untold problems for this horse, and it caused lameness. And this wall has been taken. So from our guide, from our heels to our toe, we've got no more balance point. We can't tell where this guide needs to be. So you have to let that callus and leave it alone. And then this wall will take a lot longer to grow down than it will for the heels to keep growing, because they're being stimulated and this isn't being stimulated anymore. And that's why we get those diverging rings. So you have to leave it alone. So if you have a horse like this where you're growing out the toe, you leave it alone from the apex of the frog forward. Okay. So let's just put a line in so that you see what I'm talking about. From there forward, pretty much from where you see the end of the hoof wall here, where they're done. You can't touch this. You have to leave it alone. And all we do is we go back and we trim the heels down to the hard sole plane. But let's just suppose now we completely lost our balance point. Now we don't really know what we're doing. And so the frog is having trouble because it's a poorly frog, let's say. So it's narrow, and we're trying to distort. We're trying to trim the foot to make it, tame it to keep it in line with the HPA. But this keeps distorting. So what we're going to do is these heels are going to start getting left alone, because they're going to start to run under, and they're going to start to compact. And that is the next problem. Because the more that happens, the more P3 is pushed further and further and further like this. And the person trimming has got no idea it's happening, really, other than the coronary band, which they're not noticing is getting straighter and straighter and straighter. And before you know it, an animal like this, all because of just taking, well, not just, but because you started by taking this off, has ended up walking on the tip of P3. And that is then causing osteonecrosis. And you don't even need, which is degeneration of P3, and you don't even need to have these heels particularly high, just above the hard sole plane, and the pressure is still so unnatural through this point here. So Kathleen, the answer to your question is, if you have had the toe removed, you cannot touch this area of the toe, and you cannot touch any toe callus. But as soon as this wall comes down to the ground, then you can start trimming that foot and balancing it normally, and the horse doesn't need his big toe callus anymore. But you always, always, always trim the heels to the hard sole plane. You never leave it, because if you do leave it, you're going to get compaction. So all the sole from here backwards needs trimming, and all the sole from here forwards doesn't. So it's not as straightforward as just saying leave the sole alone. I hope that explained it. Did that explain that? Says Bonnie. Bonnie says it makes so much sense. Oh, Garry, you've gone mute. You're all mute.
Is that better?
That's better. That makes so much sense now. Thank you. Yeah, and that's a confusion, and it's a common confusion. Another common confusion, because you'll hear people say it, is you don't touch the callus. You never, it's like sacrosanct. Whoop, no, don't ever touch the callus, because they've been told that, because an awful lot of people do chop the toes off, and touching the callus would be a bad thing, because the horse is harmed, and that callus is a response to harm. But of course, when you have toe wall in play, you do, because otherwise you're not going to have a balanced foot dorsopalmally or from heel to toe. So that's important. So it's simple, but becomes complex. It's simple when we talk about it in theory, but becomes complex when people go to actually see the foot in front of them, because then they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And the key to all of it is that toe wall and those heels. That's that balance that you're after. And if you take any part of that away, or you don't trim it correctly, then you're going to affect your balance. Perfect sense, says Karen. See, that was a lovely little nugget. Thank you, Kathleen, for asking that question. Don't know who this is. Facebook user says, my pony can't lift her feet because her feet are so sore, so I'm working on her while she's laying down. Oh, yeah. We do that. We have to do that when they are so sore. And it's usually, I'll tell you something now, guys. I'll tell you this for nothing, right? Laminitis in itself is horrendous. We know that. It's a blight on domestic horses throughout the world. And they're sore. But it's not quite the same as crippled when they're walking around on P3. That is that they don't want to put their feet down, and they're trying to almost lean back. And that's because P3 is in that hyperpositive position, and it's cripplingly agonizing. You may have seen that I put a post out onto the Facebook page today, and I showed you this. I think I showed these images in the short live I did maybe a day or so ago. Let me see if I can go and find it. This particular picture. Let me see if I can share my screen, just in case you haven't seen it today. So I put this up. Yeah, it's a powerful headline. It's meant to be. It's meant to be a very powerful headline. Let's see if we can put us to the side, and then you can see it better. It's a powerful headline because it's sickening, and Garry and I are sick to death of seeing it. And I'm sure every owner fears now this. And what we want to happen in the world is we want every person who has a horse that's having their toe removed constantly, we want them to go and get x-rays. I know that that's like not possible, of course, but if you have any doubt because your horse has had the toe chopped off and your horse is continually sore, go and get x-rays. Let's just talk through what's going on here. And this is the second set of x-rays from this horse. go and have a look at my YouTube. Let me just stop this for a minute. Let me just show you which video to go and look at. Where I talk about it. And it's this video on my YouTube channel where I talk about it. Hold on. Let me just share screen. This one. So if you go and see this one, which is called How to Rehab a Hoof Badly, you'll see this foot here. And it's only, well, it's 20 minutes long, but I talk about the long toe and I talk about what happens when you remove the toe. So go and watch that video if you can, because there's lots of nuggets in there, right? And this is the video. This is the one that I'm talking about in this, which I'm showing you now, that I put up on the Facebook page, which I've lost. It's gone somewhere. Where's it gone, Garry? Oh, it really has gone. I really have lost it. What have I done? Ooh. Oh, hang on a minute. I don't know what I've done with it. I think I've deleted it. So just hold on a second.
You got to go and find it again now.
Oh God, I'm so hopeless. I don't know how you can stand it, you lot. Oh God, here she goes again. Here she goes again, looking for her posts to share. We'll just go and have a cup of tea. Put the kettle on. She'll be back in a minute. Right. Oh, it seems to have disappeared. Let me just go find it. Oh, that's because it's behind that one. Right. Okay. Right. Come back. Right. Sorry. Everybody got your cup of tea now? Cup of tea? Gin and tonic? Right. Back. So let me pop that one over there so I can see what's going on. Now, let's blow this up. So there were actually, if you go and have a look at that video I just showed you on YouTube, you'll see the other set of images that were taken when this pony was in shoes, believe it or not. Stinky little pony was in shoes because he was sore, and they put him in shoes and they thought they'd cracked it. And then they did x-rays in the shoes, and he already had the beginnings of osteonecrosis because the heels were so incredibly high. Now, rather than focusing on the heels, and this is the frustration we see all the time, no, they go straight to the toe. And so what they did was they kept removing the toe. And this was the result then. Once he'd had his shoes taken off, the heels were not quite as high as they were in the shoes, but they were still high. But the toes had been removed, and this was the pressure coming straight up through the sole. And you can see, can't you, the result of that, right? This is massive bone loss, bone death. We got remodeling at the tip there, and here is the terminal arch, and that's full of main blood vessels in there, and it can go well beyond that as well. But this is what had happened. So this x-ray was taken not that long ago. And do you know what the advice of the vet was?
On the toe.
Take the toe off. And then, so you can see that this toe's a little bit longer. It wasn't on the ground. It was still being removed, but it was longer, and it was on its way back down to the ground. It was longer than what you see here now. And this is the result after the vet's advice to remove even more of this toe. And then I superimpose that onto the foot itself. And the trouble is, when you get to this stage, you can see how far down in the capsule that P2 has gone, because it's lost so much here. When you get to this stage, you think, oh, you just need to take the heels down. But when you do, you're not going down that much, really, in order for this to get quite close to the outside world, right? You can go down a little bit, but now you've completely damaged everything that's going on inside. And this is criminal. This is caused by humans. This is caused by malfeasance, by misunderstanding what they're doing. And you can see these diverging rings. That's because the heel, everybody goes, oh, the heel's going real fast. It isn't. The heel's going at the right pace. This is going at a slow pace. It's all slowed down. And this is what I'm talking about, Kathleen, when I said they get confused. They haven't got their balance point anymore. They don't know what they're looking at, and they let it compact at the back, and then you end up with this very straight coronary band. So yeah, crippled by ignorance number 1. I'm going to do a few of them. We'll put out lots until people start noticing. This is caused by incorrect hoof care. Ignoring the heel. The vet said nothing about the heels. He just talked about the toe. In fact, I think what was actually said on the report was the heel is a little high, so you could take it down. But the main problem is the toes. What WTF is all I have to say to that. WTF. Gotta stop. Stop. And what's more, you guys, you've seen it because you've been in the Phoenix group now. And how many, Garry, how many posts? We've been live for 3 months. We've got over 4,000 followers now. And God, how many posts have we replied to in that situation?
It's never ending. It's we knew it was bad out there, but having so many members willing to share and knowing that it's a safe space to share, I think is really important as well. Having a private group where the rules are adhered to the nth degree makes it a safe space.
It does.
That's
Karen
really
says,
important because
so sad,
it helps for everybody that comes into the group to see what is really going on in the equine world. We couldn't have done this on a proper public page because it would just get degraded and the mud flinging and all of that. We couldn't do that.
And only in this last 24 hours have we had some real mud slung at us and being told that we're just.
But it's interesting, isn't it? That mudslinging has come from people that actually don't know us personally, and they do not know what is going on in this group because they are the type of people that they are. They have been banned because they are not the type of people that want to increase welfare for horses. They're stuck up their own.
Anyway.
So people like that aren't welcome because it would detract. That's why it's a private group.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And Karen says
they're commenting on what they don't. Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about because they don't know what's going on in here.
Oh, but they just don't see the world. You guys didn't, right? Karen says, so sad. That's how I lost my beautiful mare. I am so sorry, Karen.
Oh.
But I tell you what, I will continue to have mud thrown at me, and Garry will continue to have mud thrown at them. We will continue with this fight. It's not about guruism. It's not about getting as many followers as possible. This is about changing the equine world. This is far more than all of that. If that's all we wanted, then I can assure you we wouldn't be out here battling every single day and doing these lives and showing you. You know, this is the truth. Deborah says, well, I am very happy. I've implemented your suggested changes for around 4 weeks and already seeing the difference in both of my horses. Fantastic. Can you talk about the opposite issue of short but not underrun heel? NPA and growth rings are the opposite, as the toe is growing faster than the heel. No, it's not growing faster than the heel, actually. Let me explain that in a moment. Let's just go through some of these comments before I lose them. Steph says, great video, just watched it. Thank you. Don't know why it's saying Facebook user. Garry, there's at the
top of the post, there's a highlighted blue section and it says something to do with StreamYard, and you click on that and you just give it permissions to share your Facebook profile with StreamYard, and StreamYard is what we're using to be able to put these lives together. You may have to refresh the page after, and then your name and your avatar will show.
Susan says, I find it hard to assess where the HSP is at the heels when there is a deep sulcus either side of the frog. It's the collateral grooves. Yeah, I have to tell you, it's experience, because compaction is not easy to trim, not easy to assess. But little by little, if you know you have okay, so if you are an owner without that experience and you're dealing with this right now and you have a lot of compaction in the back of the foot, then the best advice that we can give you is to trim often the back of the foot. Not like every day, but every week, do a little bit. And what will happen, and make sure those bars are coming down, because if you don't, it will get away with you again. That happens all the time. Compaction just runs away with you. And it's all to do with the balance. That's why it runs away with you, because you've got no toe and you've got all this compaction going on at the back. We rarely see masses of compaction on a foot that's been left in play. Sometimes they get a little bit much, but it's nearly always when toes have been removed. So just do it a little bit and often when you're new to it and you're an owner, a little bit and often, and gradually you will see that it will begin to give a little bit over time, because the horse will begin to do some of his own trimming and exfoliation, and gradually you'll see those bars give. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but it will be gradually over time.
There was a post that was put up the other day that that highlighted that she ended up doing a trim and she thought it was down to the hard sole plane. Then she went out for a ride. I think this happened over a few days. And she went out for a ride and she came back and said, oh, what's going on there? So she's picking up the foot after the ride. And she said, oh, my God, what's going on there? So she gave it a little scrape and she said, oh, my God, there's another load of foot to trim here.
Because
so
suddenly
doing that little bit, when it gets into a better position, very often the hoof starts to give. And then once you, and movement causes that. So if they're happy to move, so movement on a track, encouraging all that movement is another way of helping when you've got compacted sole until you get down to that hard sole plane. But oh my God, once you're there, guess what? That compacted sole will never be back again, will it?
No, because you've never let it happen. Becky,
you'll
darling,
never let it happen again.
Becky, darling, are you all right? Do you need? Am I reading that wrong? Do you need some more sleep? Did you have a nice big night shift last night, or is it just you're so wide awake you don't know what you're doing yourself? The podiatrist we used, Fly, said that
used Fly said that you.
Let's have that in English.
That actually sounds like one of my texts.
Would we use Fly said that you? We use Fly said that you. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm joking, but I know you're talking quite a serious subject, but about the toe. And then you come back and you said, he said, did the vet say I need to take the toes back more? Yeah, every time. If honestly, it's robotic. So glad I found you. We're glad you found us too. My pony had only 30% of P3 left. God, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Kathleen says it's so true. It's true. So much is said about bringing the toe back and never about dressing the heels. I wish I knew sooner. Well, here we are, guys. We are here shouting it out nice and loud. For those in the back that can't hear, stop taking the toes off. And if that means that I have to come up with sayings like "stop the chop" to make people to sit up and listen, we will, because this is crazy important. This is the thing that will change the equine world. The biggest change that will ever be, I think, or that has been, will be people starting to realize that they're doing too much at the toe and not enough at the heel, and they're taking those toes off and causing osteonecrosis. Osteonecrosis is not caused by laminitis. You've been told that for years. We were told that. It isn't. It's caused by incorrect hoof care. Look at them go. Look. Go, Garry. Go, Garry. Team Garry. Team Garry. Bethan says, you tell him, Garry. Tell him. Right, I'm coming back to you, Bonnie.
Wow, it needed to be said.
No, you're just a guru, Garry. That's what you are. You're a guru. You're a zoopharma guru.
Oh, is that the word of the day? It's just a guru. Oh, right, okay. I got broad shoulders. Bring it on.
I don't understand if it doesn't let you. Maybe you have to refresh. I don't know. Angela says blind leading the blind in these kind of rehab work. People need to see more healthy, balanced hooves and learn its proper proportions. You do.
Yeah.
And you know something, that's a really good, I'm going to leave that up on the screen. It's a really good point, because like Bracy Clark said over 200 years ago, if you keep seeing something that's deformed, you lose sight of what is natural. Basically, you can't see what is right anymore because you just see things that are deformed. And we've told you this before. The place that we get our legs from in the UK, he couldn't understand why we wanted so many barefoot hooves. And when he asked Garry that time, he said, you know, it's great that you're taking all these bare hooves, because normally I have to get rid of those, because I supply all the veterinary colleges in that particular area, which was a lot of veterinary colleges, and they only wanted shod hooves. Now that's crazy, because they're young, or they're students. They might all be young, but they're students. They're learning, and they've just been shown a shod foot, which is gross when you compare it in terms of the problems that have happened to it, and the fact that it will be long and it's not natural. They're always hugely long, and they'll have the toes chopped off, and they've got various pathologies, and they bring this in as like, you know, the example of the hoof that you're going to see. Well, you might be seeing a lot of that because you'll have a lot of shod horses on your books, but it's not the example you should be shown. You should be shown something which is right. So we see lots of bare hooves, obviously, and shod hooves on our workshops, and we get people to trim the bare hooves first, and some of them are a bit grim, and we trim them up, and they're like, oh god, this is terrible, oh my god, it's terrible. And then we go, right, now you're going to trim a shod foot. You've got to take the shoe off, and then you've got to look what's underneath, and then you've got to trim it. And that, to a person, to every single person that turns up, they're like, oh god, we thought that was this. Oh my god, this is crazy. The barefoot ones often don't have a lot of sole to exfoliate until you take a shoe off, and then you see it. So it's right, Angela, you're right. If you don't know what is normal and natural, you're completely lost, and that's a big problem. That's a problem. Thanks for the detailed answer. Clear now. Good. Becky's laughing. Paula says, thank you for this. Having this exact problem. My pony finally is walking better, but I'm sure I need to reduce the heels more. Okay. So going back to the compaction thing, it is what it is. My friend's horse, excuse me, has shoes on the front feet. She didn't really explain well why. She said she was told he was born with deficiencies in the front feet needing shoes. What would that be? Okay. You will be told, I'm going to leave that on the screen. You'll be told that many, many, many times over. Many, many times over, that they've got some deformity that they need to have a shoe. It's poppycock. And what's more,
English term for a load of rubbish.
Yeah. And you'll hear people with navicular say, Laura, who's watching at the moment, you know, we only heard that the other day. Excuse me, that, you know, navicular it's genetic. No, breakdown of the flexor surface from rubbing from the DDFT constantly is not inherited. What is inherited is the size of the bone. That can change, you know, and the size of the bones in the joint. But what isn't inherited is all the terrible management, the terrible trimming, the shoeing, the constant trotting on hard roads with shoes on, with feet that are not in any way shaped like the feet that the horse needs to have, all pillars of support and active and passive wear patterns completely ignored, turned on their head because the nails are where they should be passive, fed incorrectly, kept in stables for years, that's not inherited. And that's the cause of your navicular. True, real navicular, which is that real breakdown, you won't see as often as the navicular syndrome, which is pain in the back of the foot, which is on its way to becoming breakdown of the navicular bone, all because of what we are doing every single time. And that's why we're here. We're so fed up with it. We're raising the standards, and that's why we're here. My girl doesn't want to move. She's on a mini track and she goes to her water once a day, but doesn't move much. Should I encourage her more? Is she sore? Is this because she's sore? Tell us a little bit more. Susan says, well, oddly enough, both my vet and my trimmer have always insisted about taking the heels down. Fantastic. But then they still back up the toe. What is going on there then? Well, confusion. Utter confusion. And I think what will actually happen is we'll have a slight change and we'll have heels being more addressed more, but they'll still take down the toe. Like you're saying, that's the change. So they've still not got it. They've still not got it because they've been told that P3 looking like this in the capsule, looking rotated, has been caused because it's lost its attachment to the laminae. It's not why it's like that. It's like that because they've allowed the heels to go up. Go back, look at your x-rays. If you're a vet watching this, go back and look at your x-rays. Take multiple x-rays, put them next to each other, and as the rotation changes, watch the heel height go up. Go check, because you'll see it every single time. I don't know why they don't look. I don't know why they're always looking at the toe. Ignore the toe. It's a red herring. The problem you need to be looking at is the back of the foot. When you have ski tips and you are properly trimming, will it stop the deterioration of P3? It depends how far it's gone. If you've just got ski tips, what we see is a good recovery. If you get the diet and the management right, and you get the trimming right, and the toe wall comes down to the ground, we see quite a good recovery. But all horses are different. Some recover really well, and some don't appear to have an awful lot, and they still keep having abscesses and issues. Others are like, yeah, I've got quite a remodel tip and I'm still doing okay. But usually when you start to when the bone starts to actually degrade, when you've got a pony like the one I showed you earlier, nothing's going to stop that now. That's just going to keep on happening. You can't stop it, pretty much. It's just, no matter where you try and put the foot, you're going to have those problems. And unfortunately, when you get to that stage, toe wall can't properly get down because it's lost its guide, because it's gone, and so it can't actually properly get down to the ground, and you need that for support, because otherwise you're always walking on the sole. So if you can get toe wall down to the ground genuinely, and you've not got this constant massive stretch, and you've got toe wall down to the ground, then you've got a chance. If you can't get toe wall down to the ground, it's hoof boots and quality over quantity, as you would say, Garry. Steph says, my trimmer, hello. My trimmer is decent. You approved when I posted the trim, but I'm right there drilling him. Don't touch the toe, but still saying the toe is long. But oh no, you don't want me touching it. But I said, how long is the toe long? And he said, at the top, I said, you have to look at the bottom. That's right. Don't be freaked out by what you see at the top. Don't be. Horse will be so much happier when you leave more foot. Said it's all even around the world, so what would you take off? And he kept saying, look at the top. But I said, you have to look at the bottom. There is nothing you could take off. Absolutely, Steph. Stephanie. Yes. Never judge a foot from the top. You can view it and go, ooh, ooh, crazy. And then you look underneath. Okay. Yes, they should start with barefoot, but they don't. You must have heard it the other night. We had Vivian Ulrich on here, and Vivian who is a vet in Germany. She's not an equine vet; she's a small animal vet. But all the vets trained at the same time, and she said they had 120 minutes. That's 2 hours of hoof information taught to them by a farrier, and that was it. And then they're expected to go out and guide a farrier. It's crazy, topsy-turvy world, let me tell you that. Do you think after the challenges and with my private session with you, would I manage to trim Squire? Oh yeah, if he stands nicely, because you've got that to contend with as well, little Squire. I was told my Huffy couldn't go barefoot as she had flat feet. No, they don't have. Yeah, you work that one out. I tag her in all your videos to learn he doesn't need the shoes. She starts telling me, oh my, this is like a religion. God, you can't win, can you? She said, you do what you do with your horses and I do what I do, trying to steer her this way. Long Island is so brainwashed to all the wrong things, stabling, bag feed, shoes, and terrible management. People don't want to know until they have a terrible problem, oftentimes. And I've seen this. I have some of the people that are my admins on this Phoenix group didn't want to know me. And because they heard me around and people had said, you need to speak to Lindsay. You've got problems. It's not going to go away. No, I'm happy with my farrier. I like him. No, it's nothing she's going to do. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. And then almost about to lose their animal, they finally, through gritted teeth, ask me to turn up sometimes. And I turn up and they realize I'm actually quite a nice person. And what was all that fuss about? They wish they had me earlier. And then they go, oh my God, when we start talking about it. And then when we go beyond that and we start improving things, then they go and become utterly converted. And I suppose it is like a religion in a way. You do have that faith now because you're like, wow, now I see it really what was going on, and their eyes are opened. And then there's no turning back when you see that. It's like, never will I ever go back to that again. Isn't breeding also deficient and produce mediocre feet compared to wild animals? We've never seen it. Do you know why? Because diet trumps genetics every single time. Horses can have the craziest looking feet. You let them balance them themselves to their odd conformation, but you give them the right diet and management so they don't get inflammation in their body. They cope quite nicely. Thank you very much. I have seen the oddest things out there with horses that doing all right. Thanks very much. They may not be able to run around badminton or be in the Olympics, but they're fine. Thanks very much. Just left alone with the right diet and the management. I can't wait to see. No. Oh, yes, Maggie. We're all looking for that. Bethan says, love the toe. More. Bethan loves toes, right? More love to the toes and wedges. Embrace them. Embrace the funky feet. Love them. Take lots of pics and watch it move down the capsule until it's totally gone and you're left with a normal, natural hoof. Honestly, it never gets old. Does it, Bethan? It never gets old. It's exciting. The moment we see the long toe start and it starts to get down, we're like, yes, party. Because we know that horse is then going to go and get loads better. Always supposing we haven't got a lot of osteonecrosis. So that's one of the first things that we do is we have to look. If your horse has had the toe chopped off for a long, long time, we always insist on looking at the X-rays. Well done, says Caroline Stephanie, for standing up for your horse. Now, it was Bonnie who said about the NPA. Now, we haven't got a lot of time this evening. So, Bonnie, I didn't want to answer it now because I wanted everybody to stick on the toe part of it. But tomorrow, Tuesday, if you remind me, I'll get some images of some NPA and we'll talk about what is happening there. Because it's not so much that the toe is growing faster. Again, it's all about balance and caudal hoof failure, the back of the hoof, and leaving too much at the toe. That's what That's what negative palmar angles are about, or plantar angles. And you rarely see them. You rarely see them on front feet. And I tell you what, let's do a question for this evening while you go. Why do you rarely see MPAs on front feet? You negative palmar angles on front feet. You see them on the back feet. Why do you usually see rotated pedal bones on the front feet and not the back feet? So it's the other way around. So positive palmar angle on the front, negative plantar angle is what it should be on the hind foot, but everybody calls it palmar angle. You do get positive on the front, and you can get negative on the positive on the backs, and you can get negatives on the front, but it's not common. It's commonly positive on the fronts, negative on the backs. Why? Go check that out, and we'll speak about that tomorrow. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this evening. I hope that has been interesting for you. Bonnie says thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely get on that tomorrow. Yes, you're right. It's great seeing that healing angle and that big stretch growing out. It's exciting. It's not like a religion because it is not about belief. Oh, so right. Angela, you're full of these great philosophical sayings this evening. I'm loving it. It's not about belief. It's about physiology. When people say to me, oh, that's what you believe. Garry and I are like, no, we don't believe it. We know it. Oh, you're just being arrogant. No, we know it because that's biology and physiology. It is the way it is. That's it. Vivian says everyone should see the dissections of the high-heeled foot with the rotated P3 and the healthy foot sitting normal, understanding the influence of the capsule. Mm-hmm. If you remind me, Vivian, we've got some good dissections of exactly that, and we'll show the world as well. Big hearts from Bonnie. Bye, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Very interesting. Thanks. All right, we'll see you. Bye, gurus. Bye. Okay.
Cheeky.
We'll see you tomorrow, Tuesday. See you then, folks. Bye-bye. Take care now.